I am watching my twin sister choke on the champagne she meant for me. 200 people are screaming. My husband is frozen, his hand halfway extended toward the table like a statue of a saint. My mother is on her knees, ruining her silk stockings on the venue floor, begging God to save her favorite daughter. But I am just standing here, gripping the stem of my glass, forcing a smile that feels like it has been carved out of ice. They think this is a tragedy. I know it is an execution, and I am the one who pulled the switch. 60 seconds earlier, everything was perfect, or at least the performance of perfection was holding up. To my sister Chloe, Vanessa said into the microphone. Her voice was amplified, bouncing off the vaulted ceilings of the banquet hall. She stood at the head table, the spotlight catching the sequins on her lavender maid of honor dress. She looked angelic. She always does. That's her superpower. My womb mate, my other half. The person who knows all my secrets. She paused for laughter. The guests obliged. They always do. I watched her hand. It was steady. Manicured nails painted a soft blush pink, wrapped around the crystal flute. My flute. The one she had placed in front of my seat less than 5 minutes ago. I was staring at the bubbles rising in the golden liquid, wondering if poison changed the viscosity of champagne. Did it make the bubbles slower? Did it smell like almonds, like in the cheap paperback mysteries we used to read at the beach? Or was it tasteless, odorless, the perfect invisible weapon for a sister who specialized in invisible wounds? I have to admit, Vanessa continued, her eyes glistening with practiced emotion, I was worried about today. You all know Chloe. She's delicate. She smiled at the crowd, a warm, indulgent smile that said, I love her, even though she is broken. I wasn't sure if she could handle the pressure of a wedding, Vanessa said, turning her gaze to me. It felt like a physical touch, cold and damp. But looking at her now, sitting here with Nick, well, I'm just so relieved she found someone willing to take care of her, someone strong enough to carry the weight. The insult was wrapped in so much cotton candy that nobody else saw the needle inside. My Aunt Carol wiped a tear. My college friends nodded, agreeing that yes, Chloe was a burden, and wasn't it nice that someone picked her up? I wanted to scream. My throat tightened, the muscles contracting until it hurt to breathe. I wanted to stand up and flip the table. I wanted to grab the microphone and tell them about the sabotage, the lies, the way she had systematically dismantled my self-esteem since we were 6 years old. But I didn't. I just sat there, my knuckles turning white against the white tablecloth. So, Vanessa said, raising the glass higher, to Chloe and Nick, to happy endings, and to getting exactly what you deserve. She looked me dead in the eye. There was a challenge in it, a sharp glinting edge that only I could see. She thought I was oblivious. She thought I was the same stupid, trusting Chloe who believed her when she said she accidentally deleted my thesis, or that she forgot to tell my ex-boyfriend I was in the hospital. She thought I hadn't seen her hand hover over my glass 3 minutes ago when she thought I was distracted by the photographer. I had seen it. I had seen the tiny, quick movement, the flash of a small vial hidden in her palm, the pinch of her fingers, the faint dusting of powder dissolving into the fizz. And she didn't know that, when she turned to flirt with the bartender, I had reached out. My heart had hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird, a frantic, bruising rhythm. I had grabbed my glass, the tainted one, and switched it with hers. It took less than 2 seconds. I moved the place cards just in case she checked the rims. To Chloe, Vanessa said, bringing the glass to her lips. I lifted my own glass, the clean one, the one that was supposed to be hers. To getting what we deserve, I whispered. I watched the rim of the glass touch her lipstick. I watched her throat move as she swallowed. Once, twice. A long celebratory draft. She drank deep, confident in her victory. I didn't drink. I just held my glass and waited for the world to end. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. It didn't happen instantly. That was the worst part. The delay made me question my own sanity. Vanessa set the glass down with a satisfied clink. She smiled at the applause, waving slightly to the back of the room. She turned to me, leaning in to whisper something that was surely going to be cruel, something to twist the knife before the sickness kicked in. "You look tense, honey," she murmured, placing a hand on my shoulder. Her fingers were cool. "Relax. The hard part is over." I stared at her pupil. Was it dilating? Was her skin flushing? For 10 seconds, nothing happened. She laughed at something Nick said. She smoothed the front of her dress. Panic started to chew at the edges of my mind. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe the stress of the wedding had finally snapped my brain in half, just like Vanessa always said it would. Maybe I was the crazy one. I looked at the glass sitting in front of her. It was half empty. If I was wrong, I had just switched our drinks for no reason. But if I was right... Then she blinked. It was a hard, slow blink, like her eyelids had suddenly become made of lead. She shook her head, a small, confused gesture, as if trying to clear water from her ears. "Whoa," she said softly. "You okay, Vi?" Nick asked. He was oblivious. He was cutting his chicken, smiling at the guests. Vanessa reached for the table to steady herself, but her depth perception must have been gone because her hand missed the edge by 2 inches. She stumbled forward. "I feel..." she started, but the word dissolved into a wet, hacking cough. It wasn't a throat-clearing cough. It was deep and visceral. Her eyes went wide, panic finally replacing the smugness. She grabbed her throat with both hands, her fingernails digging into the skin. "Vanessa?" My mother's voice came from the table to our left. "Vanessa, baby." Vanessa tried to inhale, but it sounded like a whistle, a high, thin shriek of air trying to force its way through a closing tunnel. Her knees buckled. This is it, I thought. The thought was calm, detached, floating above the terror. This is what she bought from me. She went down hard. She hit the side of the chair on her way to the floor, and the sound of her body impacting the wood was dull and heavy. The half-empty champagne glass she had been holding fell with her, shattering against the parquet dance floor. Shards of crystal exploded outward, mixing with the spilled golden liquid and the lavender silk of her dress. "Call 911!" someone screamed. I think it was my father. The room erupted. It was like someone had kicked a hornet's nest. Chairs scraped against the floor. People were running. Nick was out of his seat in a second, dropping to his knees beside her. Vi, can you hear me?" he yelled, tapping her cheek. I stood up slowly. I felt like I was moving through molasses. I looked down at my sister. She was convulsing now. Her back arched off the floor, her heels drumming a frantic rhythm against the wood. Foam was gathering at the corners of her mouth, pink-tinged from her lipstick. "She's having a seizure!" a groomsman shouted. "Turn her on her side!" My mother was there now, throwing herself onto the floor, heedless of the broken glass. She was screaming Vanessa's name over and over, a raw animal sound that grated against my eardrums. "Help her! Somebody help her! She's dying!" I looked at the stain on the floor. The champagne was soaking into the wood. The evidence was evaporating. I should be down there. I should be crying. I should be holding her hand. That's what a good sister would do. That's what the innocent victim would do. But I couldn't move. I was paralyzed by the enormity of what I had done. I had watched her drink it. I had let her drink it. Nick looked up at me, his face pale and terrified. "Chloe, don't just stand there. Get some water. Get a napkin." I blinked at him. He looked like a stranger. I tried to speak, but my voice was gone. Vanessa's eyes rolled back in her head. Her convulsions slowed, turning into jerky, sporadic twitches. She looked broken, like a doll that had been thrown down the stairs. I gripped the table edge. A terrible, dark thought bloomed in the center of my chest, black and oily. "Is this what you wanted, Vanessa? Is this enough attention for you?" The paramedics arrived in 7 minutes, but it felt like 7 years. They were a blur of navy blue uniforms and static-filled radios. They pushed the guests back, shouting commands that nobody really listened to. They loaded Vanessa onto a stretcher, strapped an oxygen mask to her face, and wheeled her out. The ambulance couldn't take passengers. Policy or lack of space, or maybe they just didn't want hysteria in the back. "We'll follow," my father said. His voice was shaking so hard the words sounded chopped up. "We'll follow in the car." "I'm driving," Nick said. "You're in no state, Robert." "I'm fine," my father snapped, but he dropped his keys 3 times trying to get them out of his pocket. We ended up in my parents' Lincoln Town car. My father drove. My mother sat in the passenger seat sobbing into a handkerchief that was already soaked through. Nick and I were in the back. The silence in that car was heavier than the humid air outside. It pressed against my eardrums. The only sounds were the hum of the engine, the intermittent wail of the siren ahead of us, and my mother's ragged breathing. I stared out the window. We were doing 80 in a 55 zone. Trees and strip malls blurred into streaks of green and beige. I kept checking my reflection in the glass. Did I look like a murderer? Did I look guilty? I needed to cry. I knew I needed to cry. If I didn't cry, they would wonder why. I forced myself to think about Vanessa dying. I tried to conjure up an image of us as little girls, braiding each other's hair before the jealousy rot set in. I tried to squeeze out a tear, but my tear ducts felt like they had been cauterized. I was in shock. That had to be it. I could use that. I'm in shock. Nick's hand found mine on the leather seat. His palm was clammy. He squeezed my fingers hard. "She's going to be okay," he whispered. He wasn't talking to me. He was talking to himself. She has to be okay. It was just... Maybe it was an allergic reaction. Did she eat shellfish? No, my mother wailed from the front seat. She didn't eat anything. She was too nervous. She just wanted everything to be perfect for you, Chloe. The accusation hung in the air. For you. Even dying, she was doing it for me. Even in the ambulance, she was the martyr and I was the burden. I didn't ask her to, I said. The words came out quieter than I intended. My father's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. They were red-rimmed and terrifying. "Not now, Chloe. For God's sake, not now." I shrank back against the seat. The leather squeaked. I looked at Nick. He was staring straight ahead, his jaw clenched so tight a muscle was jumping in his cheek. He looked devastated. Why was he so devastated? I knew he liked Vanessa. They had been friendly, but this looked like grief. Real, deep, terrified grief. A memory flashed in my brain. 3 weeks ago, Nick closing his laptop too quickly when I walked into the room. Him laughing a little too hard at Vanessa's joke at the rehearsal dinner. "Stop it," I told myself. "You're paranoid. Your sister just swallowed poison meant for you and you're jealous of her husband? You really are sick." But the thought wouldn't leave. It sat there festering. The car swerved as my father took a corner too fast. I grabbed the door handle. "Slow down, Bob," my mother screamed. "You're going to kill us all." "I have to get to her," he shouted back. I closed my eyes and wished, for one terrible second, that the car would just drive off the road. Then I wouldn't have to answer the questions that were coming. The hospital waiting room was a special kind of purgatory. It smelled of antiseptic and stale coffee. The fluorescent lights buzzed with a headache-inducing frequency. We had been there for 40 minutes. My mother was pacing back and forth, her heels clicking on the linoleum. My father was sitting in a plastic chair, staring at his hands. Nick was standing by the vending machine, staring at the rows of candy bars without seeing them. I was sitting in the corner, freezing. I was still in my wedding dress. The tulle skirt took up 2 chairs. I looked ridiculous, a bride in a hospital waiting room. I felt like a ghost. Family of Vanessa Hartford? A man in a cheap gray suit stepped into the room. He wasn't a doctor. He didn't have a white coat or a stethoscope. He had a badge clipped to his belt and eyes that looked like they had seen everything and decided none of it was worth remembering. Yes! My mother rushed forward. Is she awake? Can we see her? I'm Detective Miller, the man said. He didn't smile. I'm afraid I can't let you see her just yet. Doctors are still stabilizing her. Stabilizing her? My father asked, standing up. From what? What happened? Detective Miller pulled a small notebook out of his pocket. He flipped it open. We have reason to believe your daughter ingested a significant amount of a sedative, possibly mixed with an opiate. We're waiting on the toxicology screen to confirm the exact substance. Drugs? My mother recoiled as if he had slapped her. Vanessa doesn't do drugs. She's a yoga instructor. She's vegan. She barely drinks caffeine. We found something, Miller said. His voice was flat. One of the EMTs found a small glass vial in the folds of her dress when they were cutting it off to place the leads. The air left the room. A vial? Nick asked. He walked over, stepping into the circle. What kind of vial? Small, clear glass, empty but with residue, Miller said. He looked at Nick, then at my parents, and finally, his gaze landed on me. It looks like she might have had it on her person. That's impossible, my father said. You're saying she… what? Dosed herself? Or someone else did, Miller said. But given where the vial was found, we have to look at all possibilities, including self-harm. She wouldn't! My mother was screaming again. She was happy. She was the maid of honor. She was glowing. She was under a lot of stress, I said. Everyone turned to look at me. The words had just fallen out of my mouth. I hadn't planned them. What did you say? My mother whispered. She was stressing about the wedding, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. She wanted everything to be perfect. She was manic about it. Maybe she took something to calm down, to get through the speech. To calm down? My father spat. Enough to put her in a coma? Don't be stupid, Chloe. I'm just saying, stop trying to make this her fault, my mother shouted. She pointed a shaking finger at me. She has been running around for months doing everything for you, everything. And now she's fighting for her life and you're calling her a drug addict? Mrs. Hartford, Miller interrupted, stepping between us. Let's calm down. I need to ask some questions, separately. He looked at me again. His eyes were gray and unreadable. Mrs. He looked at my dress. It's Ms. right now, I said. We didn't sign the license. Right, Chloe Hartford. Can I speak with you first? I felt the blood drain from my face. Me? Why me? You were sitting next to her, he said. You were the last person she interacted with before she collapsed, and frankly, you're the only one who doesn't look like they're about to faint. He gestured toward the hallway. Step this way, please. The interview room wasn't really an interview room. It was an empty doctor's office they had commandeered. There was a chart of the human muscular system on the wall. I stared at the red lines of the muscles, tracing the path of the esophagus down to the stomach. Detective Miller sat on the edge of the desk. He didn't sit in the chair. He wanted to be higher than me. Power play. I knew that from watching Law and Order. So, he said, walk me through the toast. She stood up, I said. I was picking at a loose thread on my bodice. She gave a speech. She drank. She fell. Simple, he said. Did you see her put anything in her glass? My heart hammered against my ribs. Bump, bump, bump. No, I said. Did you see her take anything out of her dress? A vial? A pill case? No. You were watching her, though, weren't you? I was listening to the speech. People watch the speaker, Miller said, especially when it's their sister. You didn't see anything unusual? I hesitated. This was the moment. I could tell him. I could say, yes, I saw her hand hover. I saw the powder fall. I saw the look in her eyes. But if I said that, he would ask the next logical question. If you saw her poison the drink, why did she drink it? And then I would have to say, because I switched them. And then he would say, so you knowingly gave your sister a poisoned drink. That was assault. Maybe attempted murder. Even if it was self-defense, even if she started it, I had completed the circuit. I had made the choice. I couldn't tell him, not yet. Not until I knew what Vanessa was going to say. I didn't see anything, I said firmly. I was distracted. By what? By the speech. She was saying nice things about me. I was emotional. Miller studied my face. He looked like he was trying to read a map in a language he didn't speak. Your mother says Vanessa has been working hard on this wedding. Yes? Did you two get along? As sisters? We're twins, I said. It's complicated. Complicated how? We love each other, I lied, but we're different. She's the successful one, the loud one. I'm the quiet one. Jealousy? He asked. Was there any jealousy? From who? From either side. Why would she be jealous of me? I let out a short, bitter laugh. She has a career. She has money. She has perfect hair. I have Nick. Miller wrote something down in his notebook. I tried to see what it was upside down. It looked like husband? Right, Miller said. Nick, he seems pretty shaken up. He loves her, I said, as a sister-in-law. Sure. Miller closed the notebook. Look, Chloe, we're going to test the residue in that vial. We're going to test the champagne in her stomach. If it turns out someone spiked her drink, we're going to find out who. There were 200 witnesses, but only a few people at the head table. He let the threat hang there. If you remember anything, he said, anything at all, a weird look, a hand movement, a strange comment, you call me. I will, I said. You can go back to your family. I stood up. My knees were shaking so bad I had to lock them to stay upright. I walked out of the room, feeling his eyes on my back like twin laser sights. 2 hours later, a doctor finally came out. He looked exhausted. He had sweat stains under the arms of his scrubs. Family? He asked. We all surged forward. My mother grabbed the doctor's arm. Is she alive? She is, the doctor said. My mother let out a sob and collapsed against my father. Nick let out a breath that sounded like a tire deflating. She's stable, the doctor continued. It was touch and go for a while. Her respiratory system started to shut down. We had to intubate her briefly, but she's breathing on her own now. What was it? Nick asked. What did she take? Toxicology is still pending for the exact compound, but clinically it presents like a high dose of benzodiazepines mixed with something else, maybe a barbiturate. It's a very dangerous cocktail. Benzo. My father shook his head. Like Xanax? Much stronger, the doctor said. If she hadn't been young and healthy, it could have been fatal within minutes. As it is, she's going to have a brutal headache and some memory gaps, but she should make a full recovery. Can we see her? My mother begged. She's awake, the doctor said. She's groggy, but conscious. He paused. He looked at his clipboard, then at the group of us. She's actually asking for someone specific. My mother stepped forward. I'm her mother. I'm right here. Actually, the doctor said gently, she's asking for her sister. The blood in my veins turned to ice water. Me, I whispered. Yes, the doctor said. She's quite insistent. She keeps saying she needs to talk to Chloe immediately. My mother looked at me. Her expression was a mix of confusion and jealousy. Why you? I don't know, I said. But I did know. Well, go on, my father said, nudging me. Go see what she wants. Tell her we're all here. I think she should rest, I stammered. If she's confused, she's not that confused, the doctor said. She seems very focused on seeing you. There was no way out. If I refused, I looked guilty. If I went in, I was walking into the lion's den. Okay, I said, I'll go. I gathered my skirt in my hands. The tulle was heavy and gray at the bottom from dragging on the hospital floor. I felt like I was walking to the gallows. I followed the doctor down the hallway, room 304. The door was closed. 5 minutes, the doctor said. Don't upset her. Don't upset her. That was rich. I reached for the handle. My hand was trembling. I took a deep breath, trying to fill my lungs with the sterile air. I pushed the door open. The door clicked shut behind me, sealing the room in a vacuum of artificial silence. The air smelled of rubbing alcohol and that distinct metallic scent of illness. Vanessa was propped up against a mountain of pillows. She looked small. That was my first thought. Without the heels, without the posture, without the force field of her personality, she looked like a child. Her skin was the color of old parchment, and there were dark circles under her eyes that no amount of concealer could have hidden. An IV line snaked from a bag of clear fluid into the back of her hand, held in place by aggressive strips of white tape. But her eyes were awake. They were wide, alert, and fixed on me with the intensity of a sniper looking through a scope. "Hi, sissy," she rasped. Her voice was wrecked, stripped raw by the tube they had shoved down her throat. I stayed by the door, my hand still gripping the cold metal handle behind my back. I didn't want to get closer. I felt like if I stepped into her orbit, I would burn up. "You wanted to see me," I said. My voice sounded hollow, like I was speaking into a tin can. She smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was a baring of teeth, a predator acknowledging prey. "Come sit," she whispered, patting the edge of the mattress with her free hand. "Don't be shy, we're family." I didn't move. "I'm fine here." "Suit yourself." She let her hand drop. She adjusted the blanket, smoothing out a wrinkle with exaggerated care. "You were quick, Chloe. I have to give you that. I underestimated you." My heart did a painful flip in my chest. She knew. Of course she knew. But hearing her say it, hearing the confirmation that this wasn't an accident, that we were officially in a war, it made the room spin. "I don't know what you're talking about," I lied. It was a weak, pathetic lie, and we both knew it. "Don't insult me," she said, her voice gaining a little strength. "I saw the look on your face. You saw the powder. You panicked. You switched the glasses." She looked at me with something that looked almost like pride, twisted and ugly. "I honestly didn't think you had the guts," she continued. "I thought you'd just freeze, or maybe knock the glass over, but to switch them? To sit there and watch me drink it? That's cold, Chloe. That's really cold. You tried to poison me," I whispered. The anger finally started to bleed through the fear. "On my wedding day, you tried to drug me in front of everyone." "I wasn't going to kill you," she said, waving her hand dismissively as if we were discussing a bad haircut. "God, you're so dramatic. It was just a sedative. You would have gotten dizzy, maybe passed out, made a little scene. Everyone would have pitied you." Poor Chloe, she just couldn't handle the stress. "It would have been a mercy, really." "A mercy," I choked out. "You wanted to humiliate me." "I wanted to save you from making a mistake," she corrected, her tone dripping with that familiar toxic sweetness. "You and Nick. Please, you're not ready for marriage. You're too fragile. I was just going to give you an out, a medical reason to postpone. You should be thanking me." I stared at her. The delusion was absolute. She genuinely believed she was the hero of this story. "I'm telling the police," I said. "They found the vial, Vanessa. They know." She laughed. It was a dry, hacking sound that made her wince. "They found a vial," she agreed, "in my dress, which implies possession. But possession isn't administration." She leaned forward, ignoring the tug of the IV line. "Here's the problem, Chloe. If you tell them the truth, that you saw me put it in the glass, and then you switched the glasses, do you know what that makes you?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. "It makes you a criminal," she hissed. "It makes you guilty of assault, maybe attempted murder. You made a conscious choice to feed your sister poison. You could have stopped me. You could have yelled. You could have poured it out. But you didn't. You weaponized it." My stomach turned over. She was right. That was exactly what I had been terrified of in the interrogation room. "So, here is the deal," Vanessa said, leaning back against the pillows. She looked tired again, but satisfied. "You are going to keep your mouth shut. You are going to tell everyone that I must have been confused, that I was stressed, that maybe I took something myself and had a bad reaction, an accident. And if I don't? Then I tell them everything," she said simply. "I tell them you've been jealous of me for years. I tell them you snapped. I tell them you planted the vial on me while I was unconscious. And I tell them that you watched me drink poison and smiled." "Nobody will believe you," I said, but my voice trembled. "I'm the one in the hospital bed, Chloe," she said softly. "I'm the victim here, and juries love a victim." She closed her eyes. "Get out," she whispered. "I have a headache. Send Mom in. I need someone who actually loves me." I turned and ran. I didn't walk. I fled the room before the bile rising in my throat could spill onto the floor. I stumbled into the hallway, gasping for air like a diver surfacing too fast. The fluorescent lights seemed to hum louder, drilling into my skull. "Chloe!" A hand grabbed my elbow. I flinched, spinning around, ready to fight. It was Ashley, my best friend, my bridesmaid. She was still wearing her blue dress, but she had taken off the heels and put on a pair of flats she kept in her car. She had her lawyer face on, the one she used when she was billing $400 an hour. "Ash," I breathed. I wanted to collapse into her. I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to tell her that Vanessa was a monster and I was a criminal. "Not here," she muttered. She steered me away from the waiting room, down a side corridor toward the vending machines. She pushed me into a plastic chair and stood over me, crossing her arms. "Talk to me," she said. "What did the police ask you?" "They asked if I saw anything," I said, rubbing my temples. "They asked if I knew why she had the vial." "And what did you say?" I said no. I said I didn't see anything. Ashley let out a breath, looking at the ceiling. She was calculating. I could see the gears turning in her head. "Okay," she said, "that's consistent. That's good." "Ashley, I started, then stopped. I looked at my friend. If I told her, she would be obligated to report it, wouldn't she? She was an officer of the court, or maybe attorney-client privilege applied, but I hadn't hired her. "She what?" Ashley asked sharply. She leaned down, her eyes locking onto mine. "Chloe, listen to me very carefully. The police are treating this as a suspicious incident. That is cop speak for, we know a crime happened, we just don't know who to charge yet." "They found the vial on her," I said. "Doesn't that prove it was her?" "It proves she had drugs," Ashley said. "It doesn't prove she dosed herself, and it doesn't explain why she drank it if she knew it was poisoned. That's the hole in the story, Chloe. Why would she drink her own poison?" I stared at my hands. They were shaking. "The police are going to be looking at everyone at that head table," Ashley continued. "Especially you. You're the twin. You're the one sitting next to her. You're the one who stood to gain if she was out of the picture." "Gain what?" I asked, horrified. "My wedding was ruined." "People do crazy things for attention," Ashley said. "I've seen it. I'm just telling you how a prosecutor thinks. If there is anything you haven't told me, anything at all, you need to keep it to yourself right now. Do not talk to the police again without a lawyer present. Do not talk to your parents about the details. And for the love of God, do not text anyone about this." "Vanessa just threatened me," I whispered. I couldn't help it. I had to give her something. Ashley froze. "She what? She's awake?" She said if I don't say it was an accident, she'll make sure I get blamed." Ashley's expression hardened. She didn't look surprised. She looked resigned. "Okay," she said quietly. "Then we have a problem, because that sounds like two people who know exactly what happened, and neither of them wants to tell the truth." She squeezed my shoulder. It wasn't comforting. It was a warning grip. Go home, Chloe. Take Nick and go home. Don't answer the door. Don't answer the phone unless it's me. I'm going to try to get a look at the police report. Am I going to jail? I asked. I felt 5 years old. Not tonight, Ashley said, but tomorrow we need to be very, very careful. The drive back to our apartment was a blur of red brake lights and silence. Nick drove my parents' car back to their house, picked up his SUV, and then drove us home. We didn't speak. What was there to say? Sorry our wedding turned into a crime scene? We walked into our apartment building at 2 a.m. The doorman, Mr. Henderson, smiled at us as we entered. Congratulations, he beamed, spotting the dress. Long night, huh? You have no idea, Nick muttered, not making eye contact. He marched toward the elevators. I gave Mr. Henderson a weak, trembling smile and followed. I felt like a fraud. I felt like I was wearing a costume. When we opened the door to apartment 4B, the smell hit me. Lilies, the place was full of them. My mother had sent over a pre-wedding surprise arrangement that took up the entire kitchen island. Now they just smelled like a funeral home. A banner hung across the living room, "Just married." I walked past it, feeling sick. I went straight to the bedroom. I needed to get this dress off. It felt heavy, like it was made of lead. It was tight around my ribs, constricting my breathing. It was stained with sweat and the invisible residue of fear. "Chloe?" Nick called from the living room. "Just give me a minute," I shouted back. I reached behind me, trying to find the zipper. My fingers fumbled with the tiny hook and eye. I couldn't get it. My arms wouldn't bend that way, and my hands were shaking too badly. I pulled and twisted, panic rising in my throat. I was trapped. I was trapped in this dress, in this lie, in this life. "Nick!" I screamed. "Nick, help me!" He appeared in the doorway a second later, looking alarmed. He had taken off his jacket and tie. He looked exhausted. What is it?" "Get it off," I sobbed, tearing at the bodice. "Get it off me, I can't breathe." He crossed the room quickly. Okay, calm down, turn around." His hands were cold against my back. He undid the hook. The zipper hissed as it slid down. The tension released and I inhaled a ragged breath. The dress pooled around my feet like a dead thing. I stepped out of it wearing only my white silk slip. I kicked the pile of tulle away. "Chloe," Nick said softly. He reached out to touch my arm. I flinched away. I couldn't help it. "Don't," I said. He froze. "Don't what? Touch my wife?" "We're not married," I snapped. "We never signed the papers." "That's a technicality," he said. "We said the vows. We're married in my eyes." "Are we?" I spun around to face him. The adrenaline was crashing, leaving behind a jagged, angry energy. "Because I feel like I don't know you at all." Nick's face fell. "What is that supposed to mean? I've been here. I've been holding it together all night." "You were crying in the car," I said. "You were shaking, Nick. You looked like your heart was broken." "My sister-in-law almost died," he shouted. "Yeah, I was upset. Is that a crime now? Am I not allowed to care about her?" "You care about her a lot," I said. The accusation tasted sour in my mouth. "Don't you?" He went still. "What are you implying?" "I saw the way you looked at her," I said. 3 weeks ago. When I walked in on you two looking at photos, you closed the laptop so fast you almost broke it." "We were looking at slideshow pictures," he said, "for the rehearsal dinner." "Then why hide it?" "Because," he ran a hand through his hair, "because she was showing me old pictures from before." "Before what?" "Before us," he said. He looked away. "Look, Chloe, I'm exhausted. Can we not do this tonight? Vanessa is in the hospital. The police are involved. Can we just go to sleep?" "Did you date her?" The question hung in the air between us, sucking out all the oxygen. Nick didn't answer immediately. He looked at the floor. He looked at the "Just Married" banner visible through the open door. "It was 5 years ago," he said quietly. "Before I met you. It lasted 2 months. It was nothing." I felt the ground drop out from under me. "You dated my twin sister? And you never told me?" "Because it didn't matter," he pleaded. "She broke it off." We stayed friends. Then I met you, and I fell in love with you. I didn't want to make it weird. Make it weird? I laughed, a hysterical, high-pitched sound. Nick, you married her twin. It's already weird. Lying about it makes it suspicious. I didn't lie, he said weakly. I just omitted it. You omitted my sister, I said. What else have you omitted? Did you know she was going to do this? Did you know she was bringing poison to our wedding? That's insane, Nick snapped. His face flushed red. Stop it, Chloe. You're spiraling. I love you. I married you. Vanessa she's complicated, but she's not a murderer, and neither am I. He grabbed a pillow from the bed. I'm sleeping on the couch, he said. I can't talk to you when you're like this. He walked out. The door didn't slam, which was somehow worse. He just closed it quietly, leaving me alone in the dark with my dress on the floor and the smell of funeral lilies drifting in from the kitchen. I didn't sleep, obviously. I lay in the center of the king-sized bed, staring at the ceiling fan cutting through the shadows. Whir, whir, whir. It sounded like a blade slicing air. I checked the time on my phone, 3:14 in the morning. My brain was a hamster wheel of terror. I replayed the toast. I replayed the way Vanessa's throat moved when she swallowed. I replayed Nick's face when he admitted he dated her. 5 years ago. Was that true? Or was that just the version of the truth he was willing to tell me? I felt exposed, vulnerable. I had no allies. My husband was keeping secrets. My sister was a psychopath. My parents were blindly loyal to the victim. And my best friend was legally bound to watch me drown if I told her the truth. I rolled over, clutching the duvet to my chin. The silence in the apartment was heavy. I strained to hear if Nick was asleep in the living room. Was he snoring? Or was he lying awake too, regretting everything? Bzzzt. My phone vibrated on the nightstand. The sound was like a gunshot in the quiet room. I froze. Who would be texting me at 3 a.m.? I reached out, my fingers trembling as I grasped the cool metal of the phone. I turned it over. The screen lit up, blinding me for a second. Unknown number. My stomach clenched. I knew. I just knew. I slid my thumb across the screen to unlock it. It was a picture. Grainy, low light, but unmistakable. It was a photo of two little girls, maybe 7 years old, standing by a lake. One girl was pushing the other. The girl being pushed looked terrified. The girl pushing looked focused. Below the image was a text. I remember what really happened at the lake house. Do you? You have 24 hours to fix this, Chloe, or I tell everyone about the accident when we were 7 and everything else. I stared at the screen until the pixels started to blur. The lake house. I hadn't thought about that day in 20 years. We were playing on the dock. Vanessa had fallen in. She had nearly drowned. My father had pulled her out, blue-lipped and coughing. Everyone said she slipped. I had said she slipped. But looking at the photo, a photo I didn't even know existed, a memory flickered. A hand on a back. A shove? Had I pushed her? Or had she tried to pull me in and lost her balance? The narrative was shifting. Vanessa wasn't just threatening me with the wedding. She was rewriting our entire history. She was weaponizing my own childhood against me. I deleted the text. My thumb moved before my brain could stop it. Delete. Confirm. Gone. But it wasn't gone. It was in my head now. I sat up, pulling my knees to my chest. I couldn't tell Nick. I couldn't show him this. He would ask what happened at the lake house. He would doubt me. I was completely alone. The sun came up like a bruise, purple and yellow and ugly. I hadn't slept a wink. I wandered into the kitchen around 7. Nick was gone. The blanket on the couch was folded neatly. There was no note, just the empty space where my husband should have been. I made coffee. I needed caffeine to function. My hands shook as I poured the water. My phone rang. It wasn't Nick. It was a local number I didn't recognize. Hello? Ms. Hartford? A woman's voice, sharp, professional. This is Sarah from Elegant Events, the catering company. Oh, I said. My head throbbed. Hi, Sarah. I'm calling because we attempted to process the final payment this morning for the remaining balance, $22,400. Right, I said. Okay. It was declined, Sarah said. Her tone dropped a few degrees. We tried the card on file twice. It came back, refer to issuer. Declined? I frowned. That's impossible. We put the money in that account last week. My parents' check cleared. Well, the machine says declined, Sarah said. And per our contract, since the event was interrupted. But the food was prepared and staff were present. The full balance is due immediately. We need another form of payment, today, or we will be forced to send this to collections and file a claim. I'll handle it, I said. Let me call the bank. I'm sure it's just a fraud block because of the large amount. You have until noon, Miss Hartford. She hung up. I dialed the number on the back of my debit card. Press 1 for English. Please enter your 16-digit card number. I punched the numbers in. We are unable to locate your account information. Please try again. I tried again. Same result. Panic began to rise, a cold tide in my chest. Press 0 for an operator. I waited on hold for 20 minutes. The elevator music was a tinny, distorted version of Spring by Vivaldi. It made me want to scream. Finally, a human voice. Bank of America, this is Kevin. How can I help you? My card was declined, I said. And the automated system can't find my account. Name and security code? I gave it to him. I heard him typing. Clack, clack, clack. Ah, Kevin said. I see the problem. This account has been frozen. Frozen? Why? It was flagged for suspicious activity early this morning, Kevin said. And then a secondary freeze was placed by one of the account holders, Nicholas Davis. Nick froze the account? I gripped the phone. When? At 4:30 this morning, Kevin said. He reported the card lost or stolen and requested a full freeze on all joint assets pending a review. I dropped the phone on the counter. He didn't trust me. He thought I was going to run. Or maybe he thought I was going to drain the account to pay for a criminal defense lawyer. He'd cut me off. I had $40 in cash in my purse and a credit card with a $500 limit that I used for Sephora. I was broke. I was married to a man who was actively protecting his assets from me. I sank to the floor of the kitchen, surrounded by dying lilies. I laughed. It was a dry, awful sound. Vanessa had won. She hadn't just ruined the wedding. She had dismantled my life in less than 12 hours. I had to get to the police station. Detective Miller had left a voicemail while I was arguing with the bank, asking me to come in for a clarification on my statement. He didn't say it was mandatory, but the tone implied that if I didn't come, they would come get me. I couldn't take Nick's SUV. He had it. I couldn't take an Uber. I didn't have the money, and the app was linked to the frozen debit card. That left my old Honda Civic. It had 180,000 miles on it, and the air conditioning had died last summer. I drove onto the highway at 10 a.m. The heat was already oppressive, 90 degrees and humid. I rolled the windows down, but the air rushing in was like a hairdryer. My hair whipped around my face, sticking to the sweat on my neck. I was merging onto I-95 when the temperature gauge spiked. The little needle shot from the middle to the red zone in 3 seconds. No. I begged. Please, no. Smoke, white and thick, started to billow out from under the hood. It smelled sweet and chemical. Burning coolant. The engine sputtered. The car lost power. I pressed the gas pedal, but it felt mushy, disconnected. Come on, I screamed, slamming my hand against the steering wheel. Just get me there, just 5 more miles. The car didn't care. It rolled to a stop on the narrow shoulder, shaking violently before the engine died completely. I sat there for a moment, gripping the wheel, staring at the concrete barrier 3 feet away. Semis roared past, shaking the entire car, blasting me with hot exhaust and dust. I was stranded. I grabbed my phone to call AAA. Then I remembered. My membership had expired last month. Nick was supposed to add me to his plan. Had he done it? I doubted it. And even if he had, calling him now to ask for roadside assistance felt like admitting defeat. The hard way, I told myself. You have to do this the hard way. I popped the hood latch. I got out of the car. The heat coming off the asphalt was physical, a wall of misery. I walked to the front of the car and reached under the metal lip to find the catch. The metal was scorching hot. Ah! I jerked my hand back. My fingers were red. I wrapped my hand in the hem of my shirt and tried again. I shoved the latch over and heaved the hood up. A cloud of steam exploded into my face. I coughed, waving my arms, stepping back blindly toward the traffic. A car honked, a long, aggressive blast, and swerved to avoid me. I stood there on the side of the highway, my face damp with steam and sweat, my hand throbbing, looking at the engine block. I knew nothing about cars. I saw a plastic tank that was bubbling like a witch's cauldron. It was empty of fluid. I had no water. I had no coolant. I had no money. I had no husband to call. I leaned back against the burning metal of the car door and slid down until I was crouching in the dirt and gravel. I put my head in my hands. This was rock bottom. This was what it felt like to be stripped of everything. And in that moment of absolute despair, a thought crystallized in my mind, cold and sharp. Vanessa did this. She didn't just pour the poison, she engineered the isolation. She knew Nick would panic. She knew I would crumble. I lifted my head. I looked at the traffic rushing by. I wasn't going to crumble. I was going to walk. I was going to walk to the next exit. I was going to find a gas station, and I was going to steal a bottle of water if I had to. And then I was going to the police station, and I wasn't going to confess. I was going to fight. I arrived at the precinct looking like I had crawled out of a storm drain. Because I essentially had. I had walked 3 miles in the blistering heat to a gas station, where I used 30 of my remaining $40 to bribe a reluctant taxi driver to take me the rest of the way. My hair was plastered to my skull. My shirt was stained with grease from the car hood. My burned hand was throbbing a dull, rhythmic bass line against my ribs. When I walked into the interview room, Detective Miller didn't say anything. He just looked at me. He looked at the soot on my cheek. He looked at the tremors in my hands. He let the silence stretch out until it felt like a physical weight on my chest. "Rough morning?" he asked finally. "Car trouble," I croaked. I needed water. I felt like I had swallowed a handful of sand, but I didn't ask for any. Asking for water was a sign of weakness. It meant I needed him for survival. "Your husband reported your accounts frozen," Miller said. He flipped a page in his notebook. "And your credit card stolen." "He's protective," I lied. "He's worried about identity theft with everything going on." "Right." Miller leaned back. The chair squeaked. "So let's talk about the toast again. We've been reviewing the statements." "I told you everything." "You told me you didn't see anything," Miller corrected. "But here's the thing, Chloe. We spoke to your sister again an hour ago." My stomach dropped. The room seemed to tilt. "What did she say? Did she tell him about the switch?" "She's claiming she saw a hand," Miller said, watching my eyes. "She says she was distracted by a guest, but in her peripheral vision, she saw a hand move near her glass, a hand in a white sleeve." I was wearing a white wedding dress. I forced myself to breathe. Inhale, exhale. If I panicked now, it was over. "She's confused," I said. My voice sounded surprisingly steady, detached from the terror screaming in my brain. She was having a seizure, Detective. Her brain was misfiring. The doctor said she'd have memory gaps. "She was very specific," Miller said. "She said she thinks someone tried to slip something into her drink, and she didn't realize it until it was too late." "Someone?" I asked. "Or me?" She didn't name you, Miller said. She just said a white sleeve. But you were the only person in white within reaching distance. He let that hang there. He was inviting me to confess. He was building a bridge for me to walk across straight into a cell. Just tell us it was a mistake, Chloe. Just tell us you were jealous and you snapped. I didn't touch her glass, I said. And if she thinks I did, she's hallucinating. I love my sister. Do you? Miller asked. Because we pulled the call logs. You two haven't spoken on the phone for more than 5 minutes at a time in 6 months, until the engagement. We text, I said. We're busy. And then there's the matter of the vial. Miller tapped his pen on the desk. Tap, tap, tap. We traced the residue. It's a veterinary sedative, horse tranquilizer essentially, mixed with an opioid. Where would a yoga instructor get horse tranquilizers, Chloe? I don't know, I said. I don't know her dealers. Does she have dealers? I don't know, I snapped. I don't know her life. That's what I'm telling you. Miller stared at me for another long moment. Then he closed the notebook. You're free to go, he said, but don't leave town and fix your car. Walking on the highway is dangerous. He knew. He knew about the breakdown. He had probably seen me on a traffic cam. He was watching everything. Ashley picked me up outside the station. She took one look at me and grimaced. You look guilty, she said. I look like a victim of circumstance, I shot back, buckling the seatbelt. Did you call the venue? Yes, Mr. Gables is expecting us, but he's not happy. He says the police have already pulled the hard drives. They pulled the hard drives? I felt a fresh wave of panic. So it's gone. The footage is gone. He says they made copies, Ashley said, merging into traffic. He still has the backups on the local server, but he's citing privacy concerns about letting us see them. He's worried about liability if we see staff faces or guests. I don't care about liability, I said. I stared out the window at the passing strip malls. I need to see what happened before the toast. Miller said Vanessa claims she saw a white sleeve near her glass. She's planting seeds, Ashley muttered. Smart. She's vague enough to not commit to a lie that can be disproven, but specific enough to cast doubt on you. We arrived at the venue 20 minutes later. It looked different in the daylight, less magical. The flowers were gone. The chairs were stacked. It was just a big empty room that smelled of stale beer and floor wax. Mr. Gables met us in the office. He was a small man with a comb-over and a sweat-stained collar. I really shouldn't be doing this, he said, wringing his hands. The detective said I shouldn't interfere with an active investigation. We're not interfering, Ashley said, using her smooth courtroom voice. We're conducting our own due diligence for the civil liability. Unless you want my client to name the venue in a lawsuit for failing to provide a safe environment? It was a bluff. We had no grounds to sue, but Mr. Gables didn't know that. He paled. No lawsuit, he said quickly. I can't let you take copies. We just want to watch, I said. Please, just the hour before the reception started. He sighed and typed a password into his computer. 12345. I memorized it instantly, just in case. Here, he said, turning the monitor. This is camera B. It covers the head table. I leaned in. The screen showed the empty ballroom. Staff were buzzing around like ants, setting silverware. Fast forward, I said, to 5 o'clock. He clicked the mouse. The timestamp jumped. There. Vanessa. She was standing at the head table, alone. It was before the guests arrived. She was arranging the place cards. Stop! I yelled. Mr. Gables froze the frame. What is she doing? Ashley whispered. On the screen, Vanessa was leaning over my spot. Her back was to the camera, blocking her hands, but her shoulders were moving. She was doing something precise, something careful. She's messing with the glasses, I said. A cold shiver went down my spine, not the metaphorical kind, but a literal, physical shudder that rattled my teeth. She was prepping it. She was marking them. We can't see her hands, Mr. Gables pointed out. She could be adjusting a fork. She's not adjusting a fork, I said. Look at her head. She's looking around. She's checking for witnesses. It wasn't proof. It wasn't the smoking gun. But it was something. She had been there alone, with the glasses. Can you check camera C? Ashley asked. The reverse angle? Camera C was down, Mr. Gables said apologetically. Wiring issue. We've been meaning to fix it. Of course. The one angle that would have saved me. The one angle that would have shown her pouring the powder. I stared at the screen, at the pixelated image of my sister's lavender dress. She had planned this perfectly. She knew the cameras. She knew the blind spots. She knew, I whispered. She knew camera C was broken. We walked out to the parking lot in silence. The heat hit us again, a physical blow. I reached for the door handle of Ashley's car, and my hand wouldn't close. It was the strangest sensation. My fingers were there. I could see them, but they felt like sausages, numb, useless. Chloe? Ashley asked, unlocking the doors. I tried to take a breath, but the air wouldn't go down. It felt like my throat had sealed shut. I can't. I gasped. My vision started to tunnel. The edges of the world went gray, then black. The asphalt seemed to rush up toward me. Whoa! Ashley grabbed me before I hit the ground. She dragged me toward the passenger seat and shoved me inside. Head down, put your head between your knees. I'm dying, I wheezed. She poisoned me too. I touched the glass. The residue. You're not poisoned, Ashley said firmly, rubbing my back. You're hyperventilating. You haven't eaten in 24 hours. You're dehydrated, and you're in the middle of a felony investigation. Breathe, Chloe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. I tried. It sounded like a whistle. It's all falling apart, my brain screamed. Nick left you. You're broke. You're going to prison. Vanessa won. Listen to me, Ashley said. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the fog. We found something. That video proves she had opportunity. It proves she was alone with the glasses. It's not a home run, but it's a base hit. We can work with that. It's not enough, I sobbed into my knees. Miller thinks I did it. He thinks I'm the jealous twin. Miller is a cop, Ashley said. He thinks everyone did it until he finds the one who can't explain it away. We just need to find the one thing she can't explain. I sat there for 10 minutes shaking while Ashley forced me to drink a bottle of warm water she found in her back seat. We need to get into her digital life, I said finally, sitting up. The world was still spinning, but slower. If she bought horse tranquilizers, she didn't buy them at CVS. She bought them online or she arranged a meet. There has to be a trail. That's illegal, Ashley said automatically. Unauthorized access to a computer system. I don't care, I said. I'm already a suspect. I might as well commit the crime to prove I'm innocent. We went to a Starbucks. I couldn't go home. Nick might be there or not be there, and I couldn't handle either option. Ashley wouldn't take me to her office because she didn't want her partners to see me looking like a vagrant. I borrowed Ashley's iPad. I opened the browser and went to the login page for the main email provider. Username, v.hartford88. Password. I stared at the blinking cursor. What would she use? I tried the obvious ones first. Yoga Life 2024. Incorrect password. Namaste A8. Incorrect password. Twin Magic. Incorrect password. Think, Ashley hissed, looking over her shoulder. Don't lock it out. I'm trying, I snapped. She changes them every 3 months. She's paranoid. I closed my eyes. What mattered to Vanessa? What was the one thing she cared about more than anything? Winning. I typed, number 1, incorrect password. I typed, perfect day. Incorrect password. A red box appeared on the screen. Too many failed attempts. Account locked for 24 hours. Please contact support or answer your security questions. Damn it! I slammed the iPad down on the table. Coffee sloshed over the rim of Ashley's cup. Great, Ashley said, grabbing a napkin. Now she'll get a notification that someone tried to hack her. I needed to see her emails, I whispered. I needed to see the receipts. We're not going to find it this way, Ashley said. Real life isn't a movie, Chloe. You can't just guess password 3 and get the smoking gun. If she bought drugs, she probably used a burner email anyway. She kept the vial, I said. She kept the vial in her dress. She's sentimental, Ashley. She keeps trophies. I looked at Ashley. I need to get into her apartment. Absolutely not, Ashley said. That is breaking and entering. That is burglary. I have a key, I lied. I didn't have a key. Vanessa had taken mine back 3 years ago after I watered her plants and overwatered her precious orchids. You do? Ashley looked skeptical. Yes, I said, and I need to pick up her insurance card for the hospital. Mom asked me to. If you go there, Ashley said slowly, and you get caught, I can't help you. I can't be your lawyer if I'm your accomplice. Then don't come, I said. Just drop me off. Mr. Russo was 60 years old, Italian, and had always liked Vanessa because she brought him cookies at Christmas. Cookies she bought at a bakery and claimed she baked herself. I stood in the lobby of her building, trying to look like a concerned sister and not a desperate fugitive. I had cleaned my face in the Starbucks bathroom, but I still looked manic. I pressed the buzzer for the super's unit. Yeah? Mr. Russo? It's Chloe, Vanessa's sister. The buzzer clicked and the door unlocked. He met me in the hallway. He was wearing a tank top and holding a wrench. I heard, he said, shaking his head. Terrible. Just terrible. Is she okay? She's going to be okay, I said, forcing my eyes to fill with tears. It wasn't hard. I was on the verge of crying constantly anyway. But she's in a lot of pain, and she wants her special pillow, the memory foam one. She can't sleep with the hospital ones. Ah, sure, Mr. Russo said. She loves that pillow. I seem to have left my key at the wedding venue, I said, in the chaos. Could you let me in, just for a minute? He hesitated. He looked at me. He looked at my burned hand, which I was trying to hide behind my back. I don't know, Chloe, he said. Strict rules. No unauthorized entry. Please, Mr. Russo, I begged. I grabbed his arm. She's asking for me. She's scared. I just want to bring her some comfort. Please. I laid it on thick. I channeled every ounce of fragile little sister energy I had. I made myself small. I made myself pathetic. It worked. It always worked. People love to help the helpless. All right, he sighed, reaching for the master ring on his belt. But just for a minute, and don't touch anything else. I don't want to get in trouble. Thank you, I breathed. You're a lifesaver. He walked me to the door of 3C. He unlocked it. I'll wait here, he said. Oh, I said. Panic spiked. I couldn't search with him watching. I might need to use the bathroom. Is that okay? He rolled his eyes. Make it quick. I slipped inside and closed the door. I locked the deadbolt. The apartment smelled like lavender and expensive candles. It was immaculate. Not a speck of dust, not a shoe out of place. It was a showroom for a life that didn't exist. I moved fast. I checked the bedroom first. I tore the pillowcases off, checking inside. Nothing. I opened the nightstand drawer. Eye mask, earplugs, a journal. I flipped through the journal. It was blank. Of course it was. She wouldn't write down her thoughts. Her thoughts were evidence. I went to the closet. Rows of color-coordinated blazers. I felt the pockets. Nothing. Chloe, Mr. Russo pounded on the door. Everything okay in there? Just finding the pillow, I shouted back. It wasn't on the bed. I ran to the kitchen. I opened the freezer. Some people hide money in the freezer. I found a bag of frozen kale and a bottle of vodka. I was running out of time. Where would she hide it? Where would she keep the things that fueled her hate? The bathroom. I ran in. I checked the medicine cabinet. Nothing but high-end skincare. Then I looked at the vent cover near the floor. It was slightly askew. The paint was chipped around the screw, as if it had been removed recently. I dropped to my knees. I used my fingernail to turn the screw. It was loose. It came out easily. I pulled the grate off. Inside, resting on the dusty metal ductwork, was a shoebox. I pulled it out. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it would crack my ribs. I opened the lid. It wasn't money. It wasn't drugs. It was paper. On top was a letter on thick, cream-colored stationery. I recognized the logo instantly. Parsons School of Design. I picked it up. My hands shook so bad the paper rattled. "Dear Miss Hartford, we are pleased to offer you admission to the fall cohort." "What?" I whispered. I had never received this letter. I had received a rejection email, a cold, generic rejection email that had sent me into a depression for 6 months. She had intercepted the acceptance. She had hidden it. I dug deeper. There was a folded piece of notebook paper. I unfolded it. It was in Andrew's handwriting, my college boyfriend, the one who ghosted me senior year. "Chloe, I can't do this anymore. I know about the guy from your psych class. Vanessa showed me the texts. I hope he makes you happy." He thought I cheated. She had fake texts. She had shown them to him. I sat back on my heels on the cold tile floor, surrounded by the debris of my stolen life. It wasn't just the wedding. It wasn't just Nick. She had stolen my career. She had stolen my first love. She had systematically pruned every branch of happiness from my tree so that she would be the only one standing tall. "Chloe!" Mr. Russo yelled. "I'm coming in!" I heard the master key slide into the lock. I shoved the papers back into the box. I shoved the box under my shirt. I grabbed a throw pillow from the living room sofa on my way to the door. I opened it just as Mr. Russo was pushing it in. "Got it?" I said, holding up the pillow. I was breathless. I was sweating. I looked insane. But I had the box, and inside the box, buried under the letters, I had felt something hard and plastic, an old phone. I didn't have the receipt for the poison, but I had the history of the war. I sat in the back of the number 4 bus, clutching the shoebox to my chest like a bomb that had already detonated. The bus smelled of diesel and wet wool. I had used $2.75 of my remaining $10 to get on. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to move. I needed to put distance between me and the apartment, between me and the life I thought I had lived. I looked down at the letter from Parsons again. "We are pleased to offer you..." I remembered that day. I remembered checking the mailbox. It had been empty. Vanessa had gotten the mail that day. She had walked into the kitchen, tossed a stack of catalogs on the counter, and said, "Nothing for you, Bug." I remembered crying in my room for a week when the email rejection came. Vanessa had sat on my bed, stroking my hair. "It's for the best, Chloe," she had whispered. "New York would have eaten you alive. You're too soft for the city. You need to stay here, where it's safe." She hadn't just hidden the letter. She had forged the rejection email. She had sat there and watched me mourn a future she had stolen, and she had comforted me while doing it. I felt a wave of nausea so violent I had to put my head between my knees. The bus hit a pothole. My teeth rattled. It wasn't just jealousy. It was containment. She was the gardener, and I was the bonsai tree. She clipped my roots every time I tried to grow. She kept me small. She kept me dependent. And Nick? I thought about the breakup note from Andrew. Vanessa showed me the texts. She had manufactured a cheating scandal to isolate me. She had cleared the board so she could be the only person I had left. And now she had tried to do it with Nick. Not to marry him herself. She had thrown him away years ago, but to make sure I couldn't have him. To make sure I remained the broken twin, the one who needed her. I looked at the old phone in the box. It was a cracked iPhone 6. It was dead. A black brick of secrets. If I could turn it on, I could prove it. Not the poison, maybe. But the pattern. The pathology. I got off the bus near the University District. I figured a college town would have places to charge a phone without asking questions. My stomach growled. A deep, cramping pain. I hadn't eaten since the rehearsal dinner, 24 hours ago. I walked past a bakery. The smell of yeast and sugar hit me like a physical blow. I checked my pocket. $7 and change. I needed food, but I needed a charger more. I found a bodega on the corner. The fluorescent lights buzzed. The clerk, a guy with headphones around his neck, didn't look up. I went to the electronics aisle. It was a chaotic mess of cheap plastic cables. I dug through the bins. USB-C, Lightning, USB-C. The phone was old. It needed a standard Lightning cable, but the port looked filled with lint. I hoped it would work. "How much for this?" I asked, holding up a generic white cable. The clerk looked at it. $10. "I have 7, I said. "And some quarters." He sighed. He looked at my dress. I had changed into sweatpants at home, but I was wearing a stained t-shirt and looked like a junkie. "7 is fine," he said. "Just take it." I dumped the crumpled bills and coins on the counter. I didn't buy water. I didn't buy a granola bar. I bought the lifeline. I walked 3 blocks to a laundromat. It was empty except for a woman folding sheets in the back. I found an outlet near the vending machine. I sat on the floor, ignoring the grime, and plugged it in. I waited. 1 minute. 2 minutes. The screen remained black. "Please." I begged the universe. "Give me this one thing." I wiggled the cable. Maybe the connection was bad. I held it at an angle, pressing my thumb against the connector. A red battery icon appeared. I let out a breath that was half sob, half laugh. It was alive. It took 10 minutes to boot up. 10 minutes of staring at the red sliver of battery life, terrified that the clerk had sold me a dud. Finally, the white Apple logo appeared. Then the lock screen. Enter passcode. 4 digits. I froze. I hadn't thought this far ahead. I assumed since it was in the trash box, she might have wiped it, but she hadn't. She kept it. She kept everything. What was the code? I tried her birthday. 1012. Incorrect passcode. I tried mine. 1012. We were twins, obviously. Incorrect passcode. I tried the current year. Incorrect passcode. iPhone is disabled for 1 minute. I leaned my head back against the vibrating washing machine. Think like Vanessa. What was important to her 5 years ago? This was the phone she used during college. This was the phone she used when she destroyed my relationship with Andrew. I closed my eyes. I remembered the day Andrew broke up with me. It was Valentine's Day, February 14th. I waited for the minute to pass. The timer counted down. I typed 0214. The screen unlocked. I almost dropped the phone. It was a date. A trophy date. She had set the passcode to the day she broke my heart. I went straight to the photos. There were thousands. Selfies. Food pictures. But I scrolled back. I scrolled to the dates that mattered. There were screenshots. Hundreds of them. Screenshots of my private texts to Mom, which she must have accessed by guessing my password. Screenshots of Andrew's Facebook profile, and then I found the smoking gun for the past, a text thread with an unsaved number. Me. Hey Andrew, this is Chloe's roommate. I think you should see this. Me, image attached, fake text log showing Chloe flirting with a guy named Mark. Me. She left her phone unlocked. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you. She had created a fake persona. She had bought a burner phone to text Andrew about me. I scrolled further. Emails to Parsons admissions office, sent from an address like adminsupportparsonsedu.net. It was a fake domain. She had bought a domain name just to reject me. It was meticulous. It was professional. It was sick. But it wasn't the poison. I searched for sedative. Nothing. I searched for pharmacy. Nothing. This phone was a museum of ancient history. It proved she was a monster, but it didn't prove she tried to kill me yesterday. I needed a current confession, and now I knew exactly which buttons to push to get it. I walked back to the hospital. It took an hour. My feet were blistered in my cheap flats. I was dizzy from hunger, but I had the phone in my pocket, And I had my own phone charged to 40% with the voice memo app open and running. I walked past the nurse's station. It was shift change. Nobody looked at me. I got to room 304. The police officer was gone. Detective Miller must have decided she wasn't a flight risk, or maybe he was focusing on finding me. My parents were inside. I could hear my mother's voice. "You need to eat something, baby. Just a little Jell-O." "I can't, Mom," Vanessa whined. "My throat hurts." I pushed the door open. The conversation stopped. My mother looked up, her eyes red and swollen. My father looked at me with a mixture of relief and anger. "Where have you been?" he demanded. "We've been calling you. Nick is worried sick." "I needed a walk," I said. I looked at Vanessa. She was watching me, her eyes narrowing. She knew. She could smell the change in me. I wasn't the scared little sister anymore. I was the one who knew about the box. "Can I speak to Vanessa?" I asked. "Alone?" "No," my mother said sharply. "You've done enough upsetting her." "It's okay, Mom," Vanessa said. Her voice was weak, but her command was absolute. "I want to talk to her." "We need to clear the air." "Are you sure?" my father asked. "Yes, please, just give us 5 minutes." My parents hesitated, then walked out. My mother brushed past me without looking at me. The door clicked shut. I didn't sit down this time. I stood at the foot of the bed. "I found the box," I said. Vanessa didn't flinch. She didn't gasp. She just tilted her head like a bird studying a worm. "What box?" "The vent in your bathroom," I said. "The Parsons letter, Andrew's note, the phone you used to catfish him." I pulled the old iPhone out of my pocket and held it up. "I know everything, Vi. I know you've been destroying my life for 10 years. I expected her to scream. I expected her to deny it. I expected the rage I had seen in the childhood photo. Instead, her face softened. Her shoulders dropped. She looked at me with a profound, terrifying sadness. "Oh, Chloe," she sighed. "You weren't supposed to see that." "Why?" I asked. My hand was in my pocket, clutching my phone. The red recording bar was pulsing. "Why did you do it? Why did you hate me that much?" "Hate you?" She laughed softly. "I don't hate you. I adore you. You're my twin." "You ruined my career," I said. "You ruined my relationship." "I saved you," she corrected. Her voice was gentle, reasonable, toxic benevolence in its purest form. "Chloe, look at you. You wanted to go to design school in New York? You would have been eaten alive. You have panic attacks when the toaster pops too loud. You would have washed out in a semester and come home broken. I just spared you the failure." "And Andrew was cheating on you," she lied. "Or he was going to. He was weak. I just accelerated the inevitable. I didn't want you to waste your best years on a loser." "And the poison?" I asked. "Was that saving me too?" She looked at the ceiling, then back at me. "Nick isn't the one, Chloe. I dated him. I know. He's boring. He's safe. You settled for him because you think you can't do any better, because you think you're damaged. So you tried to kill me?" "No," she said firmly. "I told you. It was a reset button, a medical emergency to pause the wedding, to give you time to think, to give us time to fix you." "You put horse tranquilizers in my champagne," I said clearly. "You poisoned me to stop the wedding." "I gave you an out," she said. "I took the burden off your shoulders. Because that's what I do. I carry the weight. I make the hard choices because you can't." She reached out a hand. "Give me the phone, Chloe. It's over. You know I did it for you. You know I love you more than anyone else in the world. Who else would protect you like this?" It was dizzying. She was twisting reality in real time. She was framing her sadism as martyrdom. "You're sick," I whispered. "I'm the strong one," she said, "and you need me. You always have. Now put the phone down and come give your sister a hug. We'll tell the police it was a mistake. We'll fix this. Together." I backed away. "No," I said. "I'm done being fixed. I turned and walked out. "Chloe," she called after me. "Chloe, don't do this. You'll regret it." I burst into the hallway. My parents were sitting in the waiting area. I ignored them. I ran for the elevator. I hit the lobby and sprinted out the automatic doors into the humid night air. I made it to the parking lot before I stopped. I pulled my phone out of my pocket. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. Voice memo. 4. Duration. 0612. I hit play. I needed to hear it. I needed to hear her say, "I gave you an out. I took the burden." I needed the jury to hear it. Static. A loud rhythmic whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. "What?" I whispered. I pressed the volume button up. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And then, faintly, a muffled voice. "Love you, sister." Then a loud clang, a cart rolling down the hallway, then more static. I stared at the phone, the microphone. It was full of lint, and I had been standing at the foot of the bed, 6 feet away from her, and the air conditioning vent in the ceiling, the industrial hospital HVAC, was directly above us. It had drowned her out. I could hear my own voice clearly. "You put horse tranquilizers in my champagne." But her response was a garbled underwater murmur. It wasn't evidence. It was noise. I had the truth. I knew exactly who she was. But as far as the law was concerned, all I had was a stolen box of old letters and a recording of me accusing a sick woman of a crime she didn't clearly admit to. I sank down onto the curb. Psst. My phone vibrated in my hand, a text from Ashley. "Chloe, where are you? Miller just called me. They got the toxicology report back, and they found a purchase history on your laptop." My laptop. Vanessa hadn't just used her phone, she had used mine. She had logged into the dark web or wherever she bought the drugs using my IP address, probably when she was helping me with wedding planning. "They're issuing a warrant, Chloe. You need to turn yourself in, now." I stared at the text from Ashley. Warrant issued. The words didn't look real. They looked like pixels arranged in a joke. A warrant for me gay. Because of a purchase history on a laptop I hadn't opened in 3 weeks. I stood up, my knees popped. The hospital parking lot was dark, lit only by the sickly orange glow of the street lamps. I needed to run. That was the instinct. Run to Mexico, run to the woods. But I couldn't run. I had $10 and no car. Think, Chloe. Stop hyperventilating and think. The police said the drugs were bought on my laptop. When? I texted Ashley back, my fingers flying so fast I made typos. When? What is the date of the purchase? I waited. The 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Ashley, Miller said, August 14th, 2:00 p.m., August 14th. 2 weeks ago. I closed my eyes, digging through the trash heap of my memory. August 14th. It was a Tuesday. Where was I? I was at work. No, I took the day off. I gasped. The sound was loud in the empty lot. I was with Nick. We were at the bank. We were signing the loan papers for the honeymoon. We were sitting in a glass office with a notary for an hour. My laptop was at home, in the apartment, where Vanessa was waiting for the cable guy as a favor to me. I dialed Nick. He didn't answer. Of course he didn't answer. He thought I was a drug addict. I called again and again. On the 4th ring, he picked up. "Chloe, stop," he said. His voice was thick. "Just turn yourself in, please, before you get hurt." "Check the date, Nick," I screamed into the phone. "August 14th, 2 p.m. Where were we?" "What?" "The drugs. They were bought on August 14th at 2 p.m. Where were we?" There was a silence, a long, heavy silence. I could hear him breathing. He hesitated. "We were at Chase, with the loan officer." "Exactly." I was crying now. "I was with you. I didn't have my laptop. Vanessa was at the apartment. She bought them, Nick. She used my computer while we were at the bank." "Oh my God," Nick whispered. I need you to tell Miller, I said. I need you to get the bank footage. But it's not enough. It just proves I didn't buy them. It doesn't prove I didn't switch the glasses. She's still saying she saw a white sleeve. Chloe, where are you? I'm going to finish this, I said. I'm going to get the video. There is no video, Nick yelled. The security cameras were down. Not the security cameras, I said. The B-roll. I hung up. I ran. I ran out of the hospital complex, down the main road, ignoring the cars that honked at me. I was a woman in sweatpants and flats, clutching a stolen shoebox, running like the devil was snapping at my heels. The videographer, Leo, worked out of a studio apartment in the Arts District. It was 2 miles away. I ran until my lungs burned. I ran until the blisters on my feet popped and bled into my shoes. I didn't care. Pain was just information. The information was, you are still free. I got to his building at 7:15 p.m. I buzzed his unit. No answer. I buzzed again. Long, short. Who is it? A annoyed voice. Leo, it's Chloe Hartford, I shouted at the intercom. The bride from yesterday. Open the door. Chloe? I heard about... Isn't the police looking for you? Leo, if you don't open this door, I will scream fire so loud the fire department will break it down. I need to see the raw footage. The buzzer buzzed. I took the stairs 2 at a time. I pounded on his door. Leo opened it. He was wearing pajama pants and holding a half-eaten burrito. He looked terrified. I don't want trouble, man, he said, backing up. I saw the news. They said you're dangerous. I'm not dangerous, I panted, pushing past him into the apartment. It smelled like weed and electronics. I'm framed. Where are the SD cards? From the wedding? They're on the drive, he said, pointing to a massive monitor setup. I was just culling the reception footage. Show me, I ordered. Show me the head table, before the guests sat down. I wasn't shooting then, Leo said. I was setting up the tripod for the speeches. You were testing the angles. I grabbed his mouse. My hand was shaking uncontrollably. You always test the angles. I paid $3,000 for the Candid Moments package. Show me the Candid Moments. I started clicking folders. Card A, Card B, Card C. Hey, don't delete anything, Leo yelled. I'm looking for a white sleeve, I screamed. She said she saw a white sleeve. I need to prove she's lying. I found a file. MVI 4902 MUV. Timestamp 4:48 p.m. I hit play. The screen showed the cake table. It was a beautiful shot, shallow depth of field. The icing roses were in sharp focus, but in the background, blurry but visible, was the head table. Enhance it, I said. Zoom in. It's not CSI, Chloe, Leo said. If I zoom in, it gets pixelated. Just do it. He leaned over and pinched the trackpad. The image expanded. The cake blurred out. The background came forward. There she was, Vanessa, in her lavender dress. She was standing over my place setting. She looked left. She looked right. Then she reached into the top of her dress. Her hand came out. It wasn't a white sleeve. It was a bare arm. She held her hand over the glass. And then, clear as day, even through the pixels, she tipped her hand. A white powder cascaded into the champagne. Holy, Leo whispered. She roofied you. Keep watching, I commanded. On the screen, Vanessa stirred the drink with her finger. She wiped her finger on a napkin. Then she walked away. Where am I? I asked. Where was I? Leo fast-forwarded. 4:52 p.m. I walked into the frame. I sat down. I looked at the glass. I looked around. I looked scared. Then my hand shot out. I grabbed my glass. I grabbed hers. I switched them. You switched them, Leo said. He looked at me, eyes wide. You actually switched them. Self-defense, I whispered. It's on tape. It's all on tape. I heard sirens. They were close, loud, coming down the street. They tracked your phone, Leo said. He looked at the window. Red and blue lights were flashing against the brick wall across the alley. Copy it, I said. Put it on a flash drive. Now. They're going to kick my door in. Do it, I slammed my hand on the desk. "Or I swear to God I will tell them you were my accomplice." Leo scrambled. He grabbed a USB drive. He dragged the file. Copying. 20 seconds remaining. I heard boots on the stairs. Heavy thuds. 10 seconds. "Police! Open up!" 5 seconds. The door shook. Someone kicked it. Complete. Leo yanked the drive out. He threw it at me. I caught it. The door splintered open. 3 officers burst into the room with guns drawn. "Hands! Show me your hands!" I raised my hands. I held the USB drive in my left fist like it was a grenade. I held the shoebox under my right arm. "Don't shoot!" Leo shrieked, diving behind his sofa. "She broke in. I didn't do anything." "Chloe Hartford." Detective Miller stepped into the room. He was wearing a Kevlar vest. He looked angry. "Get on the ground, now! I have proof!" I yelled. I didn't get on the ground. I stood there, shaking. "I have the video. It wasn't me. She bought the drugs on my laptop when I was with Nick. Get on the ground." Miller tackled me. It wasn't gentle. He hit me at waist level. I went down hard. My chin hit the wood floor. I tasted blood. He wrenched my arms behind my back. The handcuffs clicked. The metal bit into my burned skin. "You have the right to remain silent," Miller recited, panting. "Check the drive," I screamed, my face pressed against the floorboards. "Leo, tell him what we saw." "It's on the drive," Leo squeaked from behind the couch. She switched the glasses, but the sister started it. I saw it." Miller froze. He looked at Leo. He looked at the USB drive lying on the floor where I had dropped it. "Pick it up," Miller told one of the uniforms. He hauled me to my feet. "You're in a lot of trouble, Chloe," he said. "I know," I spat, blood on my teeth. "But so is she." The interrogation room was different this time. I was handcuffed to the table. Miller sat across from me. He had a laptop open. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the screen. He had been watching the video for 10 minutes. He watched it in real time. He watched it in slow motion. He watched it frame by frame. Finally, he closed the laptop. He rubbed his face with both hands. He looked tired. "We verified your alibi," he said quietly. "The bank has you on camera at 2:00 p.m. on the 14th. You and Nick, signing papers." I slumped in the chair. The relief was so intense it hurt. "And," Miller continued, tapping the laptop, This is pretty damning. We can see her pour it. We can see her stir it." "And the switch?" I asked. "We see that too," Miller said. "Technically, Chloe, that's still assault. You knowingly gave her a spiked drink." "It was self-defense," I said. "Imminent threat. She was going to make me drink it. I just returned to sender." Miller sighed. "The DA might see it that way, especially with the context." He pointed to the shoebox sitting on the table, the trophy box. "We went through the old phone," he said. "The fake texts, the emails to the design school. It paints a picture, a pattern of harassment and sabotage going back years." "She's sick," I said. "I told you. She's not a criminal mastermind. She's a narcissist with a God complex." Miller unlocked my cuffs. "You're not free to go," he said, "but you're not going to a cell. We're going to the hospital, and you're going to tell me exactly what she said to you in that room." We walked into the hospital room at midnight. Me, Miller, and 2 uniformed officers. Vanessa was sleeping. She looked peaceful. The IV was still dripping fluids into her arm. Miller turned on the lights. Vanessa woke up. She blinked, squinting against the glare. She saw me. She smiled. "Chloe," she whispered, "did you come to your senses? Did you tell them?" Then she saw Miller and the uniforms. Her smile faltered. "What's going on?" she asked. Her voice tightened. "Why are they here?" "Vanessa Hartford," Miller said, stepping forward. "You are under arrest for the attempted poisoning of Chloe Hartford, as well as identity theft and computer fraud." "What?" Vanessa sat up. No, you have it wrong. She did it. She switched the glasses." "We know," Miller said. "We have the video, Vanessa. We have the video of you putting the powder in the glass. And we have the bank records proving Chloe was nowhere near the computer when the drugs were bought." Vanessa's face went white. Not pale. White. Like a sheet of paper. She looked at me. The mask fell. There was no sweet sister left. No toxic benevolence. Just pure, unadulterated hatred. "You bitch," she hissed. "You ungrateful, selfish little bitch. I gave you everything. I managed your whole life. You would be nothing without me." "I would be a designer," I said quietly. "I would have been married 5 years ago. I would have been happy." "You don't deserve to be happy," she screamed. She lunged forward, ripping the IV out of her arm. Blood sprayed onto the sheets. "You stole my birthright. You stole Mom. You stole the attention. It was supposed to be me." The officers grabbed her. She fought them. She was screaming, a feral animal sound that echoed down the hallway. "I hate you," she shrieked as they cuffed her to the bed rail. "I wish you had drank it. I wish you were dead." I watched her thrash. I watched the blood bloom on her hospital gown. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel joy. I felt like I was watching a demolition. The building was coming down, and it was ugly, and it was loud, and it was dusty. But when the dust cleared, I would still be standing. "Goodbye, Vanessa," I said. I walked out of the room. Nick was waiting in the hallway. He looked wrecked. He looked like he had aged 10 years in 2 days. He opened his arms. I didn't run into them. I walked to him slowly. I let him hold me. But I didn't lean my full weight on him. I stood on my own 2 feet. Update. 3 months later. The DA offered Vanessa a plea deal. Because of the extreme emotional disturbance and the clear history of mental illness, she avoided prison time. Instead, she is currently in a secure psychiatric facility upstate for a mandatory 2-year treatment program. My parents are coping. They go to family therapy twice a week. They are slowly coming to terms with the fact that their perfect daughter was a fabrication, and their broken daughter was the one holding it together. As for me and Nick, we annulled the marriage. Technically, we were never married, but we filed the paperwork to make sure. We needed a clean slate. We couldn't build a life on a foundation of secrets and poison. We are dating. We are taking it slow. We are learning to trust each other again. He is in therapy to deal with his guilt over the secret he kept. I am in therapy to deprogram 28 years of gaslighting. I applied to Parsons again. I sent them the original acceptance letter and a letter explaining the clerical error. They are reviewing my file for the spring semester. I still have nightmares about champagne bubbles. I still check the seal on every water bottle I drink. But yesterday I went to the post office. I mailed a package to the facility upstate. It wasn't a letter. It wasn't a forgiveness note. It was a mirror. A small, handheld mirror. I didn't include a note. She knows what it means. Look at yourself. Finally. Just look at yourself. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.